sharing this platform with me. It's a great pleasure to be with you and to explore the topic together. Now, I want to very quickly rush into the topic and look at the two questions. Who was Jesus, and did he rise from the dead? Now, we have two conceptions of Jesus, one Muslim, one Christian. And if we were to sum up the Muslim position, we would say that Jesus was a prophet of God. And if we were to sum up the Christian position, we would say that Jesus was the God of the prophets. So we should ask then, basically, which portrait is the correct one? Was Jesus a prophet of God or the God of the prophets? Now, it is interesting that our Christian friends tell us that in order to prove that Jesus was the God of the prophets, one must be able to prove that he resurrected from the dead. More than this, because of what is stated about Jesus in the writings of Paul and in the Gospels, many Christian apologists such as Josh McDowell and Norman Geisler, Dr. William Lane Craig, and others, have said that the crucifixion of Jesus is not only a known historic fact, but it is a fact which disproves every positive claim that Jesus had made for himself. So in the light of the crucifixion of Jesus, if that is all one knew, one should disbelieve in Jesus, just like the apostles did when they forsook him and fled. And only in the light of his resurrection from the dead should one now believe in him. So now we have the scenario where a man is innocent until proven guilty, and what we're told in the Gospels and in the writings of Paul is that Jesus was actually proven guilty. But his resurrection from the dead reverses that conviction and now proves that he is really under God's grace. Now, it turns out that those who witnessed only the crucifixion but were not aware of the resurrection would have no logical option but to believe that Jesus was a blasphemer who died under the curse of God and who should not be believed as the Messiah, but rather should be believed as a failed claimant to Messiahship. But those who witnessed his resurrection or who have come to the knowledge of his resurrection, having faith in that, would naturally feel that Jesus' conviction has been reversed. Now, I'd like to put before you, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm one of those people who have not been convinced of the resurrection of Jesus. However, as a Muslim, I do believe in Jesus on the strength of the Quranic revelation, that Jesus, in fact, was indeed a prophet of God, that he was born of a virgin, that he performed many miraculous deeds, and that finally God raised him to himself. So while Muslims would believe in the ascension of Jesus, we would deny that the enemies had the upper hand over him, and we would say that it was God's plan that finally prevailed. Now, because of the nature of the claims made by Christian apologists, I think I'm safe in saying that the burden of proof lies on Professor Montgomery to show that Jesus actually rose from the dead. If he cannot do this, then I would have to say that as a Muslim, I can believe in Jesus. But if I'm to be asked to leave aside my Muslim belief and turn to the Gospels, what I would find is that Jesus clearly died, but did not rise again. Now, two questions I want to look at tonight with regards to the question of whether Jesus rose from the dead. First of all, was he really dead? I think that in the light of the Gospels, we cannot be convinced that he actually died if people are claiming that he actually came back to life. Let me explain why. In ancient times, people could not be sure that someone had actually died. Nowadays, we make the distinction between clinical death and brain death. A person's heart may have stopped, but we know we can resuscitate that person so long as the brain is still alive. We have EEG tests to perform to make sure that the brain is actually dead before we start donating the person's organs away. Ancient people did not know this, and so in the time of Jesus, one could not be absolutely sure that someone had actually died. But there were ways of finding out. One way was to put a person in a tomb for 3 days and then come back at the end of 3 days to find out if he's still alive. Now, the Gospels show that after Jesus was put in a tomb, the women disciples of Jesus came a couple of days later, early one Sunday morning, to the tomb. Why did they come to the tomb? Mark's Gospel has it that they came to anoint his dead body, and Luke follows exactly that. But Matthew, which is the more Jewish of the Gospels, has it that, in fact, they came to see the tomb. John does not give any reason for that, because according to John's Gospel, Jesus had already been wrapped in 120 pounds of spices, so there was no need for any further anointment. But Matthew is aware that Jewish women
Sample complete. Ready to continue?